Hey guys, Scott here with my official Dead by Daylight patch reviewing sweatshirt, and we're going to take a look at this new developer update for June 2022, which actually, I haven't actually read it yet, but just looking at simply the length of it, I gotta say, it's a pretty respectable amount of changes to be made for the game. So I have to say, good job behavior. It's hard for me to say that. But yeah, this looks pretty good so far, but let's actually go into the specifics of it. So first off is the overhaul prestige system. I believe this has not changed. Let me just glance over it real quick. If you're not aware, the prestige system is changing to basically coincide with easier character progression now. So if you get a killer or a survivor to prestige 1, it automatically unlocks all of that killer's or survivor's perks on every killer or survivor. So you don't have to, there's no like teachable perks anymore. So if you have something at prestige 3, you instantly have all of their perks on every killer. So if you get Bubba, to tier 3, you now have barbecue and chili on every killer. So that's just how that works. And I think that's a very good way to ease up on the grind a bit. I still would have preferred to just simply remove perk tiers, but this is a fine alternative. Anything to make the grind better, I think, is completely fine. Apparently, this is reducing the grind by 75%, according to some math that they did. So I'll trust that. Like I said, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. That seems to be just an objectively nice change. Anything that makes the grind better is nice. And this is just going over the fact that the whole teachable rarity thing is no more, which is, yeah, that's pretty much the same. So that is really good. No more resets. Prestiging has always been a bit of a dilemma. Do you give up everything for bragging rights or do you keep what you have to minimize the grind? Now that prestiging is the main way to unlock perks, we wanted to make the choice clear. Prestiging a character will no longer remove their perks, items, or offerings. So now prestiging is basically just a counter of how long you've played the killer. Perk slots will also remain unlocked after prestiging, with no reason not to prestige. Prestiging a character is no longer optional. After prestiging level 50, you get a special blood web with only... Okay, so you're kind of forced to prestige now if you want to keep getting more add-ons and stuff, which will slow you down a bit once you get back down to level 1, because then your blood web's going to be very tiny again, and you're only going to get a couple per blood web, but I guess it doesn't matter. You're spending the same amount of blood points, so I guess it doesn't really matter that much. So yeah, it seems to be a forced thing now. But then it seems like you would get prestige 3, and then that's... Oh, wait, no, I think you're going to be able to keep prestiging now. With prestige now being the main way to progress, it'll no longer be impressive to have your characters maxed out at prestige level 3. True. It only made sense to have a new way to recognize your most committed players, so we've increased the prestige limit to level... Okay, so you can prestige up to 100. Jesus. What would more prestige levels be without rewards? Good point. Reaching 4, 5, and 6 will award that character's bloody prestige again. Okay, so it's actually higher to get to the prestige now. Once again, signifying those who went above and beyond. Now that prestiging for the first 3 times awards perks, it only made sense to move these higher. That makes sense. If you've already unlocked these cosmetics, don't worry, we won't be taking them from you. Better not. For the completionist, prestige 7, 8, and 9 will grant one of that character's unique perks as a charm. Okay, it's something. We wanted to highlight your dedication to your favorite characters no matter how many times you prestige them. Once the trial's over, your prestige level will now be shown in the space previously occupied by grades. Oh, that's cool. So if you go against like a psycho, like, Coconut or Ralph or someone, or you go against like my demo or something, you're going to see prestige 7 billion or something. That's a cool little like bragging right thing. I like that. Those who spend millions of blood points stockpiling add-ons for your favorite characters will have a way of showcasing your hard work to the world. I like that. It lets me let people know I'm fucking insane and I have 7 billion add-ons for Demogorgon. Shrine of Secrets, unlike before, where the Shrine of Secrets would offer teachable perks that then needed to be found in blood webs. The shrine will now be allowed to purchase perks directly. Purchasing a perk through the Shrine or Secrets will make the tier 1 version of it immediately available on all killers. So similar process to where you don't need to unlock it and then get it. You just simply get it. I like that. That's nice. Yeah, no complaints. And again, anything that eases up the grind, that is just some good shit. Very, very nice. With many spending hundreds, if not thousands of hours playing Dead by Daylight over the years, you want to make sure that everyone is rewarded fairly. With the system releases, we'll be automatically awarding existing players an appropriate number of prestige levels based on how many perk tiers they've unlocked. Oh god. If you've left all your characters at level 50 and focused on unlocking perks, you won't be for nothing. That's nice. That's also important that you don't lose anything when the system is updated. Okay, so we keep an overall stuff. Yeah, I like it. That's better than I thought it would be. Like, I still thought just simply removing all perk tiers would be fine, but I think this is a perfectly fine alternative. I don't really have any complaints with that at all. And in fact, they're doing a couple of things that are even more than what I wanted. Like that whole super max level prestige thing and showing prestige at the end of the game. I think those are little neat touches that are totally welcome. Weird. Matchmaking incentives. Matchmaking has been a major focus over the past year, and we're maintaining that through year 7. Though many changes are planned to improve wait times and match quality, there are variables we can't control through code. Very true. Chief among them is the distribution. So basically, they're saying, if there's 8 billion killers and 2 survivors, we can't fix that with math and changing queue times and stuff like that. And so if there's an asymmetric game with a disproportionate non-4-to-1 ratio of killer to survivor, there's going to be bad queue time for somebody, and you can't really fix that. So what this whole thing means is basically they're just doing what a lot of games have done, which is they find the side that is being played by the least amount of players and offer an incentive to play that role. So if there's not enough killers, you will have a 25% bonus for killer, apparently up to 100% depending on how little people are playing that role at the time. That'll be interesting to see how little people are playing. Like if you try to play killer, it's like 100% incentive. You're like, oh shit, no one's playing killer right now. So that'll be cool from an actual data transparency standpoint. I'm actually looking forward to that a lot. There's no reason to not have this. This is just simply a good feature to have for every game that has, this sort of asymmetric matchmaking. Very, very good decision. We've been requesting this for a long time, so I'm glad it's finally being added. That is very, very welcome. So far, so good, man. Gameplay updates. Some of the most consistent feedback we received centers around the perk meta. Absolutely. A handful of perks have a dominant usage rate, especially in higher skill matches. Naturally, the gameplay can feel a bit stale when you see the same perks again and again. You said it, brother. In the past, we've addressed individual perks through various updates, but the odd meta change is not enough to shake things up. Correct. In this update, we were working and rebalancing 39 perks, meta included. This is what they needed to do. This is, again, a thing we've been suggesting. Just a huge change every patch, even if they're pretty small changes. Just toss numbers out, even if things are a bit overpowered or underpowered. Just try to change the meta so it's not the same thing for 6 years in a row. So that's excellent. We aim to reduce the reliance on the current meta while providing many new options to experiment with. I'm beginning to think Dead by Daylight has absorbed From Software's last good patch. And before we can make meaningful changes to the meta, we need to look at why these perks are so heavily used in the first place. While some perks are popular because of their strength, others are popular because they reduce the likelihood of an unfun situation. That is true. Therefore, we prepared a few baseline changes to address some of these core play. Oh, shit. Are they actually going to talk about tunneling and camping? And oh, baby, here we go. Well, looking at perks used by killers is a very clear trend. It's slowdown perks. Oh, they actually say slowdown perks. Corrupt Intervention, Pop, Scourge, Hex Ruin. Yeah, that's no Dead Man Switch or Deadlock in there is interesting, but yeah, that's everyone runs slowdowns. Many killers feel like gens are powered too quickly without these perks. I can agree with that. Again, unless you're Nurse or someone that can just very quickly end the match. Yeah, that's definitely true. Slowdown perks should be an option, but not the only option to stay competitive. First, we have increased the time it takes to power a generator. Wow, they actually increased the time it takes to complete a generator to 90 seconds. 90 seconds. So that's going to be possibly up to almost an extra minute of time that survivors have to be doing generators, which is, I'm trying to think how significant that'll be. It's not nothing. It's going to depend what they're going to do to the perks for slowdowns, but that's not insignificant, I think. It seems like, oh, it's just 10 seconds. That's not a big deal. But when you combine that with, the 5 gens that they have to do, you have almost an additional minute for the killer, which is, again, that's not nothing. That's actually fairly significant. I'm surprised they made a change like this. It's also pretty genius because it's also just little enough of a change to where repairing a generator, a survivor's not going to really notice that much. It'll feel like you've got 2 stacks of Thanatophobia on or something like that. It's not going to be that much of a difference to where people are like, oh, I'm so bored just doing gens, but it's enough to give the killers a little bit of extra time. So I didn't think they'd do that, but I think that's okay. By slowing them slightly, we hope to give killers a bigger window to interrupt survivors, particularly at the beginning of a trial. I still think some type of, trial warm-up thing would be a better solution than that. I think that would be a better solution than increasing the gen times to begin with, honestly, because no one likes doing generators. They're the most boring part of the game. So I still think having the thing where the game is very slow until a chase actually starts and then the gens actually speed up, I think that would be a better solution, but I think this is fine to address some things for now. Kicking a gem will now instantly remove 2.5% of the maximum progress. I don't think that's enough. It's not going to make kicking gens worth it. Because how long does it take to kick a generator? 2 seconds? So you're basically, as a killer, spending 2 seconds to remove 2 seconds from a gen, but there's 4 survivors. so that the time efficiency, unless you've got pop or a perk that actually affects generator kicking, I'm still not gonna kick gens. That's not worth it. It's nice for people that do kick gens. It'll not be completely useless now, but yeah, you're saving 2 seconds of a 90-second generator. It's not really gonna do much. I would have loved to see a nerf to Pop Goes the Weasel, bring it down to like 20% or 15% or so, something like that, and then make kicking gens maybe be like 5%. Because I don't think they realize the time investment of kicking a generator is detrimental. When you're kicking a gen, you're not chasing anybody, you're not defending anything, you're not defending totems or hooks or generators. You're just, well, I guess you're defending a generator, but you're walking to a generator and then kicking it and then going somewhere else. It's not just the 2 seconds it takes to kick the generator, it's the time investment spent walking to that generator and then kicking it, where you're not downing a survivor or pressuring anybody. And that's why kicking gens is still not really ever worth it. Again, unless you've got a generated perk that involves kicking it, in which case then it becomes worth it. But for everybody else, yeah, this 2.5% thing, it's not going to change anything in my opinion. I'm still not going to kick gens. I think kicking gens will still be a waste of time. But, I mean, sure, it's better than nothing, I guess. So I can't complain about it. It's just I don't think it's going to really change anything. General killer improvements. The average kill rates are a little lower than we'd like. A sentiment echoed by many community members. I'm surprised to hear that. I thought they would actually not be if they're gathering data from every skill gap. Because at lower skill levels, people are dying left and right. To ensure the killer feels like an unstoppable force, we're making slight improvements to many aspects of the killer gameplay. We reduced the time it takes to break walls and pallets by 10%. Interesting. Buddy, come here. We're reading patch notes. So that's basically giving everybody level 1 brutal strength. And that is actually... That's nice. Because this is going to be the whole thing with safe pallets and stuff like that. It's very uninteresting, that gameplay. When someone just drops a safe pallet and you're just forced to kick it and keep going. The worst part about playing killer is survivors just holding forward. That's the worst part, even for survivors too. It's not a very good part because there's no interaction. There's no skill involved. You're just holding forward. And by making pallets able to be kicked faster, that reduces that amount of time. Not by much, to be fair, not by much. So it's it saves you 0.3 seconds, which, is not insignificant. That'll you can probably catch up to somebody. I can't do the math in my head right now, but it's not insignificant. So it's a free thing that makes it a bit harder to hold W, and I'm very much okay with that. Gens can be kicked 10% faster. Okay, that's whatever. It's 0.2 seconds. Okay, so the 2.5 second regression is slightly better, but still not worth it. While these changes may seem small, a fraction of a second can play the difference between hitting a survivor and then reaching a pallet. I mean, that's very true for sure. But the gen kick thing, it's nothing. But free brutal strength level 1, I like it. That's nice. Next, we've reduced the cooldown for successful basic attacks by 10%. So we're all getting 2 stacks of Save the Best or Last for free as well. 2.7 from 3 seconds. That's significant. That is actually pretty significant. And reduce the duration of the survivor's speed boost upon being hit by 10%. So we've got like a 20% differential here. That is actually significant. That will cut down the whole W by probably what, like 3 seconds maybe? I can't do the exact math in my head, but yeah, that's not insignificant. Anything to cut down that hold forward meta, I think, is an excellent change. Because I don't think this game should be about I get hit intentionally. Like, it should never be the correct play to intentionally get hit to just speed boost in a straight line and the killer can't do anything bare minimum for 20 seconds before you start looping again. I don't think that should be incentivized. What should be incentivized is using the resources of the map where all the mind games and stuff happens. If the hold forward meta is less prevalent, that means people will be forced to play a bit more efficient with their pallets because they have to rely more on the actual interactable objects of the game rather than just holding forward. So I think anything that incentivizes that is excellent. And I think I'm really happy about that as killer. As survivor, I think I'm even happy about that too, because I feel bad when, I get hit by like a Freddy or someone, and then I just hold forward, and there's nothing he can do for 20 seconds. Like 20 seconds where you cannot do anything but just run in a line and chase someone, it feels terrible. And all the fun parts of DBD are when you're at a jungle gym or a tile and you're trying to, trying to mind game each other. Your killer's trying to moonwalk, but you're guessing he's going to moonwalk and you're running away from the loop and he looks stupid. Like, that's all the fun stuff for the game. That's all of the gameplay right there. Holding forward is shit. We don't want that. Anything that reduces that is good. And I hope this incentivizes survivors to start playing better and not just pre-dropping pallets and stuff like that, because they actually have to use them now. Again, it's not super significant a change. You can still hold forward and get probably 15, 16 seconds of distance, but every time, saving 4 seconds, 4 seconds, 4 seconds, 4 seconds, that'll add up. That's good. I like that a lot. Finally, we've tweaked... Oh, I hope they're not buffing Bloodlust. That would not be good. We're tweaked Bloodlust to increase power quicker than before. Oof. In most cases, Bloodlust does not activate, though there are cases where it can be necessary. Like what it says, in most cases, it doesn't activate, but sometimes our map design is really bad. The long build-up often leaves the killer in a bad spot, even if they eventually get a hit. I mean, that's true. If you've hit Bloodlust 2 or 3, you have monumentally fucked up the chase most of the time. We're adjusting Bloodlust tiers to activate after 15, 25, 35, instead of 15, 30, 45. Okay, so tier 1 is still the same. Actually, I'm more okay with this than I thought I'd be. Because typically, sometimes I'll get tier 1 Bloodlust if a chase has gone particularly bad, or it's like Larry's with a particularly bad string of windows or something like that, and I will get Bloodlust 1. I don't think there's any shame in getting Bloodlust 1. It does happen, so the fact that that's the same is fine. Even Bloodlust 2 is only 5 seconds faster. Basically, if you've gotten to this Bloodlust 3 window, you have screwed up really badly as killer. That should never happen. Now you can make the argument, because the killer has screwed up really badly, does he deserve to get rewarded with even more speed? No, I don't think. I think this sort of is a band-aid or a crutch for players that are already playing improperly, and it'll just make them continue to play improperly because they go, hey, I go zoomy fast after this amount of time now. So I don't think Bloodlust needed to be buffed. I think Bloodlust was honestly completely fine. I thought Bloodlust probably should have been nerfed. I think just keeping tier 1 Bloodlust excellent, and then the other tiers are they just become kind of stupid. So, I'm not too thrilled about that change, but I doubt it's going to change that much, like they say here, because mostly the actual Bloodlust you get is just tier 1. You don't really get more than that. But for the killers that are just really bad or screw up a lot, I don't think they deserve to get rewarded. So I'm not a huge fan of that change. That's probably impressively in 17 minutes, the first negative thing I've read. Camping and tunneling. On the survivor side, there's a clear preference for perks that grant a second chance. Bar time, Decides to Strike, Dead Hard, and perks of that nature help a survivor avoid certain death, leading to extreme usage. Definitely. A benefit of these second chance perks is how they help prevent unfun situations, which is true, namely being camped or tunneled out of the game. In order to incentivize a meaningful change in the meta, it was clear that we needed to address these controversial tactics. Second chance perks should be nice to have, not essential. I completely agree with that sentiment. Moving forward, survivors will receive a 5-second endurance effect after being unhooked. The Mad Lads did it. They did a borrowed time for everybody. See, for me, I don't care. This is not going to affect me at all, because I just assume everyone has borrowed time at this point. So I don't tunnel people off the hook anyway, because not even if I was trying to be mean, it's just a bad idea to do. So I always just hit the unhooker and down the unhooker instead. It's a lot easier. Don't have to worry about it. So this doesn't affect me at all. But for people that are trying to relentlessly tunnel off the hook, this might actually de-incentivize them to do that. That's the thing, though. Borrowed time already de-incentivize you to doing that. So I actually, as a killer, I actually like this change. Now I don't have to guess if everyone has borrowed time. Now I just know they have borrowed time. And I can still focus on doing the smarter play, which is downing the unhooker instead. Because they can't have DS, they can't have borrowed time, they can't have anything. They're just a free down. So it's always better to go for the unhooker in most circumstances. All that being said, it's still 5 seconds. If you really want to be a tunneling little shit, you can just follow them for 5 seconds. If you've hooked them in a dead zone, they're not getting to shit in 5 seconds. You can even body block them. You can make it so they're getting nowhere in 5 seconds. It's a very minor window to be able to get somewhere. I know they're saying that it'll allow you to get to a pallet or window and stuff, but if you just body block them for even a second or two, they're not getting anywhere. So that is pretty good. Ooh, actually, additionally, the unhooked survivor will receive a 7% haste for 5 seconds. This will make them harder to catch and encourage killers just to focus on the unhooking survivor. This is good. I think more people should play like that. It might be a bit of a malding moment for tunneling killers, but I think if you're playing in that tunneling way, you are actually not even playing efficiently. Some people get so focused on tunneling that they throw the game just trying to kill one guy instead of actually spreading out the pressure where they actually would have gotten more. So it ends up being better for you to not tunnel. And I'm not saying this as like a survivor sip or something like that. It literally makes you win more if you just don't focus on that as much. So I think this is actually a really good change. I'm actually very impressed that they decided to do that. So that will hopefully de-incentivize killers to tunnel people off the hook, because basically the free bar time that survivors are going to get, and also they get hope for 5 seconds too. Hopefully that'll make a huge change. So that is I have no doubt will be a controversial thing. I bet a lot of tunnely kind of dickbag killers will be a little upset about that. But hopefully this will incentivize people to play in a less obnoxious way, because it's just sort of the default thing now. And again, you should be playing like that anyway. You should be playing by downing the unhooker anyway, because it's always been the safe decision. Trying to swing in a bar of time, it's just been a bad decision. So this will actually probably make killers better. It might have the reverse effect. Instead of people just being shitters and just tunneling people off the hook, this might actually make killers better players, which will make it harder to win a survivor. So we'll actually see. But that's very cool. Both effects will be canceled if the unhooked survivor performs what we call a conspicuous action. These are actions. So basically the things that turn off decisive strike is what it can. Oh, they added opening and exit gate. That's good. I mean, this doesn't matter if it lasts 5 seconds. What are you going to get unhooked and dive bomb a generator in 5 seconds? None of this doesn't matter. Meta perk changes. Ooh, baby. For this update, perk changes will fall into 1 of 2 categories: meta perks that are used too often, and meta perks, or non-meta perks that serve a similar purpose but aren't used as much. We understand that many of you have grown to attach your favorite perks and loadouts. That's the thing. We're not attached to them. We just sort of need them a lot of the time. We want things to be changed. Unfortunately, shaking up the meta inevitably leads to a few changes. Rest assured that our goal is to provide alternatives that align with your preferred playstyle while widening the scope to include more viable perk options. It's also important to note that not every meta perk is equal, and each was considered on a case-by-case basis. So what are Dead by Daylight's meta perks? By referencing both community feedback and internal data, we can see some perks stand above the rest. Barbecue and Chili, I wonder why. Hexarune, of course, Pop, Corrupt Intervention, Tinker, Noed, Residence. I mean, yeah, that's just very, very, very meta. Survivor's Dead Hard, Bar Time, Decisive Strike, Iron Will. I don't know why self-care is there still. And Spine Chill. Really? So instead of like, there's so many better perks than self-care and Spine Chill. It's like adrenaline, sprint perk, whatever. We'd like to share these graphs showcasing the 10 most frequently used perks. Okay, I'm pretty sure this is just look at that Dead Hard. What is that, 70% usage? Yeah, that's about right. That's about right. Good God. Barbecue and Chili being the most active perk too, because people just want more blood points. That's who'd have thought. Current effect: upon hooking a survivor, this perk is incredibly popular because it's powerful, because the huge amount of blood points it provides. Choosing to go into a match without it massively slows down your progression. Agreed. We don't want blood points to be the driving factor behind this perk, so we'll be removing the blood point bonus. Oh, we understand this change may seem shocking, but keep in mind that this update reduces the grind by about 75%, with matchmaking incentives providing an additional avenue for blood points. Ooh, that's kind of a heartbreak, man. Now, I don't actually need that many blood points, and quite frankly, I end up wasting most of my blood points, so I guess it's really not that big of a deal. It's still going to be sad to see, though, man. It's just, since I started playing the game, like 5 years ago, I've been trying to get 4 stacks every game. That is shocking. That does hurt. That does hurt my heart. But I do think that relying on one perk to double your blood point game wasn't great. So, okay, I guess. Hexarune, current effect. Generators regress automatically at an increased rate whenever survivors not working on them. A massive part of Hexarune's appeal is to not having to stop and kick generators. That is the entire point of the perk. That's why I like it, because I hate kicking gens. As well as the ability to passively regress them from a distance. These aspects made Rune a unique slowdown perk, so we're not looking to change them. Okay. To bring Rune in line with other perks, we're reducing the regression speed to 50, 75, 100. Oof. That is a fat nerf. After a survivor is killed, Hexarune will also automatically deactivate. I mean, that's fine at that point of the game. If it's a 3v1, you've likely already won, so that's whatever. But, man, that is a fat nerf. It's important to remember that this is based off of killer regression, not survivor gen speeds. So this is not removing it at, 1 charge a second. This is at 0.25 charges a second, because a killer regresses a generator 4 times as slow. So when you had something that was 200% faster than, 4 times as slow, you regress the generator at half the speed a survivor did a generator. So basically, at max level, we're now regressing things back to 4 times as slow. which is rough. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be worth running anymore, because I didn't like rank 1 rune. It didn't feel impactful enough for how short the actual totem lasts. The reason it was so good is because it had pretty significant slowdown, but it typically went away in the first couple minutes of the match. So, oof, I don't know, man. Yeah, hey, if you're looking to mix up the meta, yeah, you did it. I don't know. I might not run that anymore. Pop goes the Weasel. Gives a control way to remove it. Giving the kick and gen now removes 2.5% of its progress by default. We decided to tone down some numbers. Perk now remove 20% of the generator's current progress. I mean, that's basically a 2.5% nerf, whatever. That's not much. And Pop will still be pretty good. Corrupt Intervention. At the start of the match, the 3 furthest generators are blocked for a while. Perks make the beginning of the match much more manageable, and we can't be having that. Forcing survivors to extend deeper into the map before repairing a gen. We aren't looking to change that aspect. Okay, that's good. Moving forward, this perk will deactivate once the survivor enters the dying state. We believe this change will keep Corrupt Intervention. Okay, so this is sort of what the whole trial warm-up idea I had was. They're just tying it to a perk instead of it being a base. I still think it should be a base mechanic, but that's interesting. So basically, if the killer is doing well enough that they down somebody very fast, the perk will deactivate. But likely you've already have gotten its effect by making the survivors run somewhere else and waste the time. It's not like once you down somebody 60 seconds in, they're going to be, 40 seconds into their new generator and go, oh, Corrupt Intervention's gone. Let me leave this gen and then go fuck off and do the other one. So likely this is actually not that much of a nerf. Corrupt Intervention is still going to be very good. Tinker is a popular choice for the information it provides. Being able to prevent a gen from being completed is a game changer, particularly on killers with high mobility. It can be a little impressive when paired with certain regression perks. I agreed. Therefore, Tinker can now only activate once per gen, but with the base charges increased to 90, killers will have extra time to approach. Okay, that's fair. I actually like that. Rune Undying Tinker Blight was one of the most annoying things on the planet. Every time you were about to finish a gen, here he comes. It just knocks you off the gen. And since Rune would regress it back under the Tinker limit, he would just repeatedly do that over and over again. Honestly, fuck that. So, good. I think that's how Tinker should work. Noed. Oh, baby. His perk makes it for a very effective comeback tool, though it falls out of favor in high-skill games. We like the way that... That's not true. It's still used in tournaments and shit. We like the way Noed encourages survivors to preemptively cleanse totems, so we're not looking to weaken its direct strength. Instead, survivors will now see the Hex Totem's aura within 4 meters upon activation. This range increases to 24 meters over the course of 30 seconds. I actually kind of like that change. It incentivizes survivors to stay in the match, which increases the risk that they go down, but it also increases the risk at which they find the totem and destroy it. So I think that creates an interesting gameplay dynamic, and I'm actually a fan of it. Good change. I actually like that a lot. Pain Resonance. Most recent addition to the meta, Pain Resonance allows the killer to remove a sizable chunk for the most progressed generator by simply hooking a survivor. It's not that simple. Sometimes the scourge hooks are just nowhere near you. Loud noise notification allows the killer to disrupt the survivors before they can continue repairing. A jack of all trades of sorts, granting both a powerful regression and crucial information. With that in mind, we're removing the loud noise notification. Instead of exploding, the effective generator will now spark upon losing progress, and survivors will no longer scream. We believe this is to ensure Pain Resonance remains a strong regression perk with eliminating its informational aspect. I think that's fine. I think the scream is not the strongest point of that perk. It's nice and it's good to know where you're going, but it will be a little unsettling to hook somebody and not know that the perk worked, because when it has a spark effect, it doesn't actually show you where the totem is. So losing that information is a pretty big kick. It'll still be a good perk, but that is a pretty significant nerf, honestly. Ooh, baby, Dead Hard. Dead Hard is by far the most used perk by survivors, and it's easy to see why. In the right hand, it acts like a third health state, allowing a survivor to escape a situation where they otherwise would go down. Yes, correct. There are 2 main ways Dead Hard is used: to dodge a hit and for distance. In the latter case, there's not much a killer can do. Correct. Therefore, a Dead Hard will now provide the endurance effect for 1 second while activated. If you time it right, you'll prevent the hit and gain a movement speed boost. This will remove Dead Harding for distance. That'll make it used solely to dodge hits. So, Dead Hard originally gave you, I believe, half a second a window of vulnerability. So they've doubled the window of invulnerability, basically. But they removed the distance. So I'm curious to see exactly... Let's say a survivor is a second away from a window. If they Dead Harded for distance to the window, they make it. However, if they Dead Hard and run to the window and get hit, they still make it. So I'm curious to see if that will actually affect anything. I haven't done the math if the distance gained from Dead Hard offsets the duration that's being changed. That's something I'm going to need to test. But this is, I think, it's one of the suggestions I had for Dead Hard, where it becomes sort of like a Dark Souls iframe roll, rather than I just zoom somewhere. I think this will actually make it more interesting. I'm not sure though. This is going to be something I have to test. I can't give my impressions on this until I actually test it in the actual game. It may do absolutely nothing. It may be literally the exact same, or it may actually be useful. I'm not sure yet, but I'm glad they're changing it. Decisive Strike. One of Decisive Strike's main appeals is its efficacy at preventing tunneling. In the light of the upcoming base changes, we expect Decisive Strike to drop in usage slightly. For the most part, we find the perk to be healthy for the game. I can agree with that for the most part. For the most part, there are some scenarios like at endgame where it's stupid, but and easily avoidable for killers who choose not to tunnel on Unhooked Survivor. I agree. I don't get DS very often. That said, at the end of the match, yeah, exactly. There's nothing a killer can do to prevent a survivor with DS from escaping. That's my God. You read my mind. Text. Moving forward, Decisive Strike will now deactivate once the exit gates are powered. Good. In addition, the stun duration has been reduced from 5 seconds to 3 seconds. Ooh, shit. That's significant. We'll be simplifying the description of the perk. Decisive Strike will now be canceled by conspicuous actions. Ooh, which means it's also getting nerfed because you can't open exit gates. It'll be disabled as well. Damn, that's a fat nerf. I don't really hate DS that much, except in that endgame scenario. Because, yeah, you'll have a scenario where, like, you'll have, like, 2 people left. One guy will unhook. You'll down the unhooker. And then you'll catch up to the guy that was unhooked and down them. And you're like, okay, well, that's it. You're the last survivor now. And you pick him up and he just leaves anyway. It's like, come on. I'm not tunneling at this point. There's literally nowhere else to go for. So, in that scenario, that's great. Damn. Fuck DS, whatever. That's fine. Borrowed Time. So this is now base kit. What is this going to do now? Borrowed Time will now extend the duration of the endurance by 10 seconds and increase the movement speed by 10 seconds for any survivor. Okay, so basically this will basically just give you old Borrowed Time. However, this will give you 15 seconds of 7% increased movement speed. That'll make it significantly harder to tunnel a survivor. So Borrowed Time's still useful. I wonder if less people will use it because they think that baseline effect will be enough. But I think that baseline effect it's not really that much. 5 seconds is very little. So Borrowed Time's still a useful perk while not being insanely required anymore. So that's nice. I think it's a good change. Iron Will. I hate Iron Will as killer. This perk allowed skilled players to mind game more effectively in many areas, silencing its pains. To address its high usage rates, we're lowering the grunts of pain reduction to 25, 50, 75. Additionally, Iron Will is no longer active when exhausted. Doesn't this make the perk useless, though? Because, actually, I don't know. 75% is pretty significant. If you're behind a wall with audio occlusion and you're 75% more quiet and you crouch, I think you'll pretty much be unhearable. That's another thing we're going to have to test. I hate Iron Will, but I thought Iron Will was one of the best perks in the game that was not overpowered or needing of a change. So I'll just have to test that one. Self-care. Self-care has been divisive in the community. We're surprised to find it as usage in the highest skill matches. See, I guess I must suck at killer then, because I never see anyone using this. Having a consistent and reliable way to heal at will is a powerful tool in the right hands. On top of that, self-care increases the efficiency of medkits. To reduce the strength, self-care's heal speed will be lowered 25, 30, 35%, and the item efficiency bonus has been removed entirely. Jesus Christ. I mean, I already thought self-care wasn't good, so whatever. I don't know where this data comes from. Like, I can't be so bad at killer that I'm playing in, like, the shitters where... But even then, I just don't see self-care ever. So I don't know. That just seems weird. Spine Chill. Spine Chill will now only activate if the killer has a clear line of sight to the survivors. This will remove the awkward counterplay where the killer must look away to ensure a stealthy approach. Next, we'll be adding a short, lingering effect to Spine Chill. This will prevent the perk icon from flickering when the killer looks around and make the action speed boost more consistent. I think Spine Chill didn't really need a change, right? It was one of those perks that was pretty good, but it wasn't like overpowered or anything like that. Finally, we're removing the vault speed bonus entirely as it didn't suit the perk's nature. I think this is just going to make it so no one uses Spine Chill ever. I'm not really a fan of that one. Killer perk buffs. Overcharge. Along with its current effects, Overcharge will cause a kicked generator's regression to grow from 100% to 400% over the course of 30 seconds. Nice. Survivors will want to stop this generator from regressing as soon as possible, incentivizing them to actually interact with the hard skill check. Good change. That actually makes kicking gens worth it. I like it. Very nice. Eruption. Eruption released with fairly safe numbers, but upon reflection, we're more comfortable with increasing them. We've upped the duration, or up to the generator regression penalty to 10%, and the duration of the incapacitated effect from That's pretty good. Eruption's the perk where when you kick generators, you tag them, and then when someone's down, it triggers all of them to start regressing. So that's nice. Knockout. Those who like to leave survivors on the ground can have a little more peace of mind. In addition to its current effect, knockout will cause dying survivors to crawl 50% slower for 15 seconds and reduce their recovery speed by 25%. Oof. I don't think we want to incentivize slugging, but okay, we're not. I don't think we want to incentivize slugging, but I guess go nuts. I don't know. I don't think that's they had this whole thing like we don't want to incentivize tunneling or camping or slugging. Okay, here's a buff to slugging. I don't know. It's sending mixed messages there. Coulrophobia. To make healing in the killer's territories even more unappealing, Coulrophobia will now increase the speed of skill checks by 50% on top of its current effect. That's fine. I think that's kind of jives with the whole idea you're scared of clowns, so it makes you more jittery, so your skill checks are faster. Makes sense. Dark Devotion. This perk is great for confusing and sneaking up on survivors, but the basic attack requirement makes it unappealing for certain killers. Very true. Dark Devotion now activate whenever the survivor or the obsession loses a health state. Okay, that's cool. That'll make it usable in a... I was thinking Dark Devotion on like Huntress or something, but she still's got the lullaby. There's going to be a couple of interesting things you can do with that now. I like it. Jolt allows the killer to make regress generators by simply downing a survivor. To make it more consistent and punish killer survivor plays, we've removed the cooldown. Good. I don't know why it had a cooldown to begin with. Excellent. That is very good. Jolt might actually see a bump in usage. Lethal Pursuer. You like aura reading on top of the existing effect. Lethal Pursuer will now extend the duration of all aura reading effects by 2 seconds. Really? I love Lethal Pursuer. It's like one of my favorite perks. They're buffing it. Stonks Rising. All right. Hell yeah. Granted, that's going to what? Just do like barbecue and chili and I guess undying aura reveals, things like that. Hell, that's a buff to one of my favorite perks. Nice. Gift of Pain. The perk shift with safer numbers will be increasing the action speed penalty to 10, 13, 16%. Okay, that's actually 15% is pretty significant. That's the Scourgehook where you hook them and they become mangled and they also repair gen slower until I believe they're healed. Is the requirement to take it off. So that's actually pretty significant. Thanatophobia. We're increasing the action speed 4.55, 5.5. Maximum. Okay, so it's basically a buff of 2%. Sure, whatever. Monstrous Shrine. Oh my god. What are they gonna do? The perk will now convert all basement hooks to Scourgehooks. How we feeling, McLean? Additionally, Scourgehooks will now grant 10 to 15%, 20% faster entity progression, but only if the killer is not within 24 meters. Okay, so doesn't incentivize camping, but it incentivizes survivors to get the fuck to the basement really fast. Nice. I like that. On basement-centric maps combined with like Pain Resonance, that's going to be nice. Calm Spirit. In addition to Calm Spirit's current effects, you can now open chest and cleanse and bless totem silently at 30% reduced speed. Will it give you the option, or is that your only choice? If it gives you the option, that's awesome. If it doesn't give you the option, that sucks. So we'll see what the actual play is there. Saboteurs can now identify Scourgehooks. Their auras are shown in yellow. Oh, cool. So Saboteur will now highlight Scourgehooks. I like that. I think that's kind of a cool change. Basically, no one uses that perk. Nice. Botany Knowledge now increases healing. They buffed Botany Knowledge. Oh, terrible idea. Horrible, terrible idea. I swear to God, I don't know how many videos I need to make using a green medkit with healing add-ons to show how stupid self-healing can be with a green medkit. Oh, that's not a good... I don't think Botany and Knowledge needed a buff at all. That perk was surprisingly strong. It was just super underused. Oh, that's going to be rough for killers, man. Okay. Second super bad thing. I am very worried about this. Not good. Off the record. Upon being unhooked, gain the endurance status effect for 60, 70, 80 seconds. The endurance effect is now lost upon you performing conspicuous action. Okay, so somewhere it's like a baseline borrowed time with Decisive Strike where you can't do anything really, but you also can't be hit for that time too. So it's just for getting off the hook and not getting tunnel off the hook. That's a great anti-tunnel perk now. It's effectively like Decisive Strike now, isn't it? It might even be better than Decisive Strike, or maybe similar to Decisive Strike. Actually, isn't this just Decisive Strike? It lasts longer than DS, though, so I guess that's the difference. Lucky Break. Oh, don't buff Lucky Break. God, please don't buff Lucky Break. I'm so glad that people think this perk sucks. It is literally one of the best perks in the game. This perk is great for escaping a chase, but the effect quickly runs out. No, it doesn't. I have used Lucky Break 5 times in a match. You just need to heal yourself. We're giving survivors a way to recharge Lucky Break. Each second spent healing another survivor increases Lucky Break's duration by 1 second. Okay, I guess that's reasonable. You'll have to actually heal a bunch of survivors to get more use out of it again. I can make a 40-minute rant on how Lucky Break is one of the best perks in the game, and it is the most underrated perk in the entire game. The amount of times that you can use this perk and just simply win a chase, even against the best killers in the game by default, is staggering. It provides more escape value than Decisive Strike, Borrowed Time, everything combined. Unless you're on a map like Blood Lodge or something like that, where there's simply nothing to line of sight behind. But the amount of times I have lost a chase against even bad survivors with Lucky Break, I'm not looking forward to that. Pharmacy. Now Pharmacy will activate whenever you're injured, guaranteeing a med kit whenever you search a chest. This effect can happen multiple times in one trial. Oh, shit. That's really good, actually. So you can get multiple green med kits. Dude, I like that a lot. I think that's a great change. Green med kits, I think, need a nerf. Again, I can make a whole separate video about green med kits. I think they are the most busted item in the entire game by far. So now that you have a perk that gives you multiples, oh god, that's actually pretty decent. Soul Survivor. In addition to hiding your aura, Soul Survivor will now increase your generator repair speed by 75% and your exit gate and hatch action speed by 50%. These effects only are active when you're the last survivor standing. I don't think anyone will use this still. It's still not great. Distortion. For those who like to stay hidden, we've added an additional way to regain distortion tokens. Gain 1 token for every 30 seconds spent within the killer's terror radius. I think that's fine. I think distortion's slightly underrated, and I'm okay with a bit of a change there. Emma, what do you think? Okay. Lightweight. In addition to Lightweight's existing effects, your scratch marks will be more sporadic, making you harder to track. Your scratch marks will also fade 3 seconds sooner, up from 1, 2, 3. Huh. I wonder what more sporadic means. I don't know how you get more sporadic than already existing scratch marks in Dead by Daylight, but I guess we'll see. That's going to be something we have to test as well. Deja Vu. To help survivors power the generators closest, Deja Vu will now grant a 5% repair speed bonus to the revealed generators. So that's going to be, it's going to save what, like 4.8 seconds on a gen? I don't think there should be anything that increases the speed that you do generators, but with this gen nerf, that's fine. That's okay. No One Left Behind. Beyond its current effects, No One Left Behind will grant 7% movement speed bonus to any survivors you unhooked. Is that going to stack with the already existing one? So you're going to have like a 114. Dude, imagine a survivor with Hope, No One Left Behind, and the recent change to, forget the perk, which is above us. You would have 21% movement speed so you could outrun the killer. It's very situational at end game when the gates are open, but it still sounds really funny. That sounds like a good meme build to do. Dark Sense. We changed the way Dark Sense works. When a generator's powered, Dark Sense activates. The next time the killer comes within 24 meters of you, their aura is revealed for 5, 7, 10 seconds. Dark Sense and deactivates. Yeah, that's not bad. That's useful information to have. But it's not going to become meta, so whatever. Tenacity. In addition to the current effects, Tenacity now reduces your grunts of pain by 75% within a dying state. Nice. Combined with the increased crawling speed, this perk will now be much more effective in crawling away from the killer. I like that. Anything that buff Tenacity is nice. Hope is great for those who like to make a lot of late game saves, but a limited duration can cause it to expire at inconvenient time. We've removed the duration entirely. Dude, awesome. I love Hope. It's one of my favorite survivor perks in the game. I love it. That's great. Overzealous. A perk that just came out with Eddie. In its current state, cleansing a totem grants you a repair speed bonus of 6, 7, 8%. Now that bonus doubles if you cleanse a hex totem. It's still pretty situational. It might see some more use now, but I still think it's pretty situational. We'll see though. We're gonna live forever, much like barbecue and chili. Oh no, this perk features a massive blood point bonus. We don't want blood points to dictate which perks are used, so we've removed the bonus blood points. Oh, F's in the chat. The change was still released at the same time as the progression overhaul, yada yada. Additionally, actions that previously granted a token will now activate the perk's secondary effect. While active, healing a survivor from the dying state grants them endurance for 6, 8, 10 seconds. The secondary effect, if we're going to live forever, then deactivates. Okay, so it kind of, you can impart Soul Guard onto a survivor too now. So that's a buff to the effective use of the perk, but very sad for the actual blood points. We realize that following these changes, a new meta will surely rise. I wouldn't be so sure. I do think there's going to be a couple of, you know what? No, that's actually true. There will be a couple of new perks that see a lot of use. We'll closely be monitoring the performance of each updated perk to ensure none fall too far out of line. Moving forward, we hope to make the meta shaking updates like this one a more frequent part. Excellent. I love to hear that. With that, we've reached the end of this edition of the developer update. Kudos to those who made it this far. It was a long one. As always, these changes will be available for testing next week in the PTB. Given the number of changes made, we'll be keeping an eye for feedback. We'll also be holding a live stream in the near future to preview the update and answer any questions you may have. Wow. This was such a long set of patch notes. I am actually like slightly out of breath from nonstop talking for 50 minutes. So, well done behavior. Again, that's not something I say very often. So seriously, this is exactly what we wanted to see. Just changing a bunch of shit, even if it doesn't actually end up affecting anything, just making people interested in trying new things. That's awesome. I am happy with, I'd say, 95% of the stuff. I think Lucky Break, oof. Botany Knowledge, oof. Bloodlust buff is kind of an oof. But I mean, there's a couple of things that I don't agree with, but overall, this is some good stuff. I am very impressed. And the fact that this is something that's actually happening next week rather than, we'll see it in, a couple of millennia, makes it all the more impressive. So overall, Emma, they did good. They did good, Emma. They actually did